I had a request in my DMs that someone wanted to know who are the true descendants of Israel. And I thought I talked about this before in previous video, but I will talk about it again, because if you need more clarification, my advice to you is to study and research and to show yourself approved. Thank you for asking the question, but the only way that you're going to find out for yourself the truth, you have to research yourself. Now, the identity of the true descendants of Israel is not based on modern race, labels, passports, or language, but on prophetic curses, historical scattering, and spiritual awakening in the last days. So we're going to look at this on precepts, evidence, and discernment, especially in regards to the question was from Hispanic and Latino peoples, because they have that chart up. And I don't agree with that chart, but that's just my opinion. I haven't researched it out enough, but I will talk about who are the true descendants of Israel. In Deuteronomy 28:45-46, all these curses shall come upon thee, and they shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Key signs of the true Israelites and the descendants. Isaiah 11:12, scattered to the four corners of the earth. Jeremiah 17:4, lost their identity and language. Deuteronomy 28:48, served enemies in hunger, thirst, and nakedness. Deuteronomy 28:68, shipped into slavery by ships. Deuteronomy 28:37, became a byword and a proverb. Deuteronomy 28:32, had their children taken. Deuteronomy 28:16-19, lived in the inner cities, ghettos, and poverty. Romans 11:8-10, spiritual blindness. These curses are not spiritual metaphors, they are historical and generational realities. So what about the Hispanic and Latino peoples? Yes, many Hispanic and Latino people are descendants of the lost tribe of Israel, especially from the northern kingdom. Ephraim, Manasseh, Issachar, and Zebulun, scattered into the Americas through Spanish conquest, transatlantic slave trade, forced Catholicism, and colonial genocide and displacement. They did experience many of the Deuteronomy 28 curses, just under a different colonizer. Key historical and prophetic clues. The northern kingdom, 10 tribes. After being exiled by Assyria, 2 Kings 17, the northern tribes disappeared from history, but prophecy said that they would go to a distant land where mankind had never lived before, to keep the laws they never kept in their own land. And this is in the Apocrypha of 2 Ezra 13:40-45. And if you go look at any of my videos, I have 2 Ezra 13 explained. Many believe this distant land was Asareth, interpreted by some as the Americas, where the 10 tribes migrated before colonization. Historical clues pointing to Hebrew identity in Hispanic populations. Indigenous tribes in Mexico, Central and South America practiced circumcision, dietary laws, and Sabbath-like traditions. Many Caribbean and Latin families have African, Native, and Semitic bloodlines through colonial slavery and intermingling. Spanish colonizers targeted certain families suspected of Jewish ancestry, the Inquisition. In Deuteronomy 28, the curses seen in Latino history. Deuteronomy 28:49, a nation of fierce countenance, fulfilled in Latino history. Spain invaded with brutality, forced Catholicism, and enslaved. Deuteronomy 28:32, sons and daughters taken. Children were separated, enslaved, re-educated by missionaries. Deuteronomy 28:48, served enemies in hunger and thirst. Post-colonial poverty, resource theft, and economic oppression. Deuteronomy 28:37, a proverb and a byword. Slurs like spick, wetback, and national mockery. Deuteronomy 28:68, bondage in ships. African slaves and some indigenous people shipped across oceans. So yes, many Hispanics and Latino descendants do fulfill their curses, particularly those of Afro-Caribbean descent, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, indigenous and African ancestry, Mexico, Central America, Colombia, and Brazil. Mz populations who descend from the colonized tribes. But how can we be sure? How is that determined? Well, the seal of identity is just not in DNA, but in prophecy, historical fulfillment of the curses, spiritual awakening in the last days, and desire to return to Yahuwah, Torah, and the covenant. In John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice. Baruch 2 and 30, in the land of their captivity, they shall remember themselves. So who is Israel today? It's not the Ashkenazi converts in the land of Israel, not just spiritual believers, but the bloodline seed scattered and oppressed, now waking up to their identity. Yes, many Hispanics, Latinos, especially those with Afro-Indigenous heritage, colonial oppression lineage, and ancient Semitic culture traces, are likely descendants of the northern tribes and part of the regathering in these last days. But not all of them are. Some Hispanic peoples may not fulfill the curses and may be a Gentile or mixed. That's why this awakening is spiritual and requires discernment. My final word to you. If your heart is stirred to return to Yahuwah, if you're repenting, waking up to the lies of religion, Christianity, Catholicism, feeling a call back to the Torah, the truth, and Yahushua, you're likely one of the scattered descendants that prophecy spoke of, because it says, my sheep shall hear my voice.